What's up, everyone? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and, well, since we're all pretty much in isolation, courtesy of a virus, decided to do some more videos that I really didn't have to go out and buy a lot of stuff for. It's just stuff I have here. So we're doing more underrated albums. This time I'm going to focus on the late 2010s, so from 2015 on to about 2017 or 18, just because by the time I started the channel, I just went over all the stuff that I've picked up, so it'll be a lot of repeats. So this is a chance to actually show you some other stuff that I picked up before we started the channel. So let's get this started. Exgenesis, Aphotic Veil. This is a EP. This is Death Doom, but it's kind of melodic Death Doom. Really not a lot of clean vocals on here. Actually, it's all real deep roars. This came out on Pain Without End Records. Really not familiar with this. Now this is, I believe, kind of a side project. There's only 2 members on air, and it's international. One member is from Sweden, the other member is from Colombia. So quite some distance between the 2 members. And I imagine it involved a lot of file sharing. This is excellent stuff. A lot of the heavier parts in here remind me of early Opeth. I love the overall sound in this. The production here is excellent. It is nasty Death Doom, but again, some really catchy melodies on here. Underrated as hell. I imagine since it's on a smaller label, it really didn't get circulated that well. I discovered it courtesy of just, doing a YouTube dive and finding some cool stuff, which that's going to be kind of a theme in this pile, honestly. But yeah, underrated. I really don't hear a lot of people bring this one up. Definitely check it out. It's really good. Mutilatred, Dissecting Your Future. This band's from my hometown, Toledo, and they are fiercely underground, and they definitely have a sound that is really interesting. They blend brutal death metal and almost kind of like slammy stuff, but they take almost an approach like cavernous death metal. It has that old school like incantation sound, but there's like dying fetus riffs in there, and all the songs in here are pretty short. So it's almost kind of like a grindcore approach to cavernous brutal death metal, which honestly I don't hear a lot. And I think that's kind of a cool, unique thing about these guys, at least as far as I've heard. I've seen these guys multiple times now. I mean, they're from my hometown. They open up for a lot of shows in Detroit, too. And these guys absolutely kill it live. It is just almost like caveman metal. It's just so fucking heavy. Absolutely love this. I have their newer album that came out on Redefining Darkness. This is out on Seeing Red Records. Recommend definitely checking it out if you're just looking for a slightly different approach to brutal death metal, and you like it real cavernous and just very reverby and full sounding. Definitely check this out. It's a solid release. Undead, False Prophecies. This is an old school death metal band that came out on Listenable Records. This came out in 2015. And I think one of the reasons why they're pretty underground is because they changed their name after this. They're now known as Undead Prophecies. They only went by Undead until a little bit after this album was released. This is just gritty, old school death metal, very groovy, has the very dry vocals, a lot like Martin Van Druen from Pestilence and Asphyx. Very like murky sounding production, lots of cool atmosphere, and they definitely have a thing for the Grim Reaper. That's kind of what the band looks like too. They kind of obscure their identities, at least in their photo shoots. A couple of the members are in some other bands, Putrid Awful and Loud Blast. And, possibly the name change early on in the career for this band may have kind of obscured them a little bit. This is a solid album. Definitely check it out. If you just love old school death metal and just chuggy, groovy riffs and shit, this is solid stuff. Definitely check it out. Denominate, Those Who Beheld the End. This is this band's only release. It's on Inverse Records. They are from Finland, and they're like a technical death metal band, but it's very old school technical death metal, like kind of like Death circa Human and Individual Thought Patterns, but then mix that with Demolish, because it is dissonant, it is strange, the riff structure is wild on here. I love the guitar work. It's fantastic. Now these guys used to be known as Encrypted, and they changed their name, and this is the only release they have so far. And this came out 4 years ago, so they're kind of due for one. But again, a name change can kind of obscure you a little bit, and plus this is a very small record. In fact, this might be one of the only albums I own on this label in particular. But solid stuff. Excellent songwriting on here, and I like the fact that it is tech death that is actually really gritty, and it has kind of that old school 90s production to it. You know, I'm a big sucker for that shit. Definitely check it out. It's a solid listen. Deviant Process, Paroxysm. This is a tech death slash brutal death slash prog death band. They're kind of all over the damn place. They're from Quebec, where tech death definitely lives. And this came out on PRC Music back in 2016. Now, according to their profile in Encyclopedia Metalum, they are on Season of Mist now, though they haven't released anything yet, and it doesn't seem like there's anything coming out soon. This is really solid stuff. Very impressed with the musicianship on here. Very awesome technical riffs. It's got kind of like a brutal death sort of production. It kind of reminds me of like some later Cryptopsy albums there. I have to say this band goes through a lot of drummers. They've gone through 4 drummers in the last 10 years. That seems a little bit excessive. And, you know, that might be one of the reasons why it takes so long for them to get out and put out another album. But either way, underground stuff. I discovered these guys courtesy of YouTube, and if you're looking for some cool tech death that's a little bit more polished and like has some brutal death to it, definitely check it out. Escarium Interitus. This is a Brazilian death metal band. This came out on Testimony Records and Redefining Darkness, kind of a joint release, or one was the distributor. This is straight up awesome thrashy death metal. It's very much in the vein of a lot of South American death metal. Very similar to Christian in terms of the frantic pace of this. The blast beats are just flying. Riffs are chuggy and aggressive. I love the production on here. The guitars are just extra crunchy on this, and it just makes it sound that much heavier. This is only a 3-piece too, and I guess these guys are in a lot of other bands too, at least according to Encyclopedia Metalum, and that might be a reason why these guys don't come out with albums that often. This came out again in 2016, and I think they only have one other full length. But if you love just fast, aggressive death metal, and you love that whole South American style where they just go completely all out batshit crazy, I love that shit. I'm a huge Christian fan, and these guys definitely are something to behold. Definitely check this out. Killer stuff. Warfather, the Grey Eminence. This is Steve Tucker's other death metal band other than Morbid Angel. This came out on Grey Haze Records in 2016, and I have to say, this is better than anything that Morbid Angel has released since Gateways to Annihilation. It is awesome, sludgy, just that solid Morbid Angel sound. This is pretty much almost a continuation of what he was doing in Morbid Angel during his tenure, and even now. I like this even more than the last Morbid Angel album. I thought that one was pretty decent. This is just incredible. I love the songwriting. His vocals are just absolutely nasty on here. Lead work is just scorching. I initially heard their first album and I didn't like it. Namely, the mix was really bad. And I thought the songwriting was kind of boring too, but I took a gamble on this one and I jammed it and I absolutely loved it. This is absolutely killer stuff. And I'd love to see them continue, but they're on hold right now because obviously Morbid Angel's the bigger name. But I really would love to hear another Warfather album. Check this out. It's killer. Crypt of Despair, The Stench of Earth. This came out in 2017 on Testimony Records. This is a awesome old school death metal band from Lithuania. Their sound is just immense. I love how heavy the production on here is. It is very full. It is just loaded with groove and like bordering on Death Doom in terms of the atmosphere. And the atmosphere is just fantastic. It feels like you're in a fucking graveyard or a crypt the entire time. It really just matches up to that fucking sick artwork. If we were doing videos back in 2017 for like best of stuff, this probably would have been on my year-end list. This is just incredible old school death metal. I love how riffy it is, and man, there are just some killer hooks on this. Definitely check it out. I mean, especially if you love like Incantation, Bolt Thrower, anything just dirty and filthy sounding. This is amazing. Check it out. In Reverence, The Selected Breed. This was another one that I just was fucking going down a YouTube dive and came across this one, played the entire album, absolutely loved it, had to get it. This came out on Non-Servium Records in 2017, and this is atmospheric death metal. It's kind of like Nile and then ulcerate combined. It's very strummy, lots of dissonance, but when it comes down to the drum work, it is at a frantic pace. It is just constantly blasting, and it really just kind of creates this wall of sound. Now, these guys started off as a deathcore band and then shifted to their current sound, and may have alienated one fan base to try to gain favor with another, so might be one of the reasons why they're a little bit more underground and, smaller label, but this is just fantastic stuff. Love the songwriting, love the atmosphere. There's a lot of killer melody on here, but the sheer heaviness, especially with that insane drum work, is what really just kicked it off for me. Love this one. Definitely check this one out. Another banger. And finally, we have Glacial Tomb, self-titled. This came out in 2018, though I didn't pick it up until 2019. I already made my list, and this could have made it on there. This came out on Gilead Media, and this features the lead guitarist from Chemist on vocals and guitars in here, Ben Hutchinson. This is his flat-out death metal project. Now, it's sludgy death metal with hints of black metal in there, but it is very much just straightforward death metal. Really cool kind of technical writing, but it stays very groovy and very riff-oriented. Love the songs in here. This is a banger of an album, start to finish. And the fact that they had one of Chemist's guitarists in there, which Chemist is a fantastic doom metal band. He really just knows how to write some killer hooky riffs, but at the same time keep it very much planted in death metal. That nothing on here sounds like doom metal at all. It's just death metal, and it's fucking awesome. Definitely check this out. Check all of these out, but this one is such a fucking gem. I can't wait for them to put out another one. Yeah, maybe they'll get on a bigger label and get more distribution because this band needs some more recognition. Killer stuff. Check it out. Alright, well that knocks out pretty much death metal for a while, so I'm probably going to move on to possibly thrash metal. Black metal was requested. There's sludge metal, doom metal, stoner metal. There's a lot of shit I could cover, and I got all these fucking CDs around me, so it'd be fun to kind of talk about them. So yeah, I'm going to get back to the underrated stuff, and of course we're going to have some other segments and more reviews and such. So definitely give the video a like and subscribe, and we will catch you guys later.